Shalom, shalom. Israel's brothers are by Yalla coming back at you with another cold cut. I'd like to give all honor and glory and praise to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Right? It's going to be a quick cold cut, just going into a wise man will fear in everything. A wise man will fear in everything. He's going to understand time. He's going to understand judgment. He's going to understand that the Most High is always looking upon his ways and watching diligently on every single thing that he does, moving with integrity. Right? He's not just going to be a fool out here just doing anything. All right? Let me get this in the book of Sirach chapter 18. Right? In the book of Sirach chapter 18. You have to fear in everything. You can't move presumptuously and just do things on your own accord based off your own thoughts. Right? The Lord will judge you for that. This is Sirach chapter 18, and I'll start at verse 27. A wise man will fear in everything, and in the day of sinning he will beware of offense, but a fool will observe no time, will not observe time. Right? So the Lord said a wise man will fear in everything, and guess what? In the day of sinning, he's going to beware of offense. Meaning he before he's doing any judgments, he's going to know, all right, is this going to lead me to transgression? Right? Is this going to lead me, to go off? He's going to beware. Like how you have a sign that says beware of dog. Now you moving kind of conspicuously. You kind of just looking to see if there's a dog in the back. You kind of, now you're aware that there's a dog that can come and hurt you. That's why they have a beware of dog. But if you're bewaring of offense, you're kind of moving in the same fashion, right? You're being observant, you're being vigilant, right, of sinning, right? And it says what? He will beware of offense, but a fool will not observe time. Meaning a fool is just going to do what they want to do. They're not going to discern time and judgment. They're not going to regard the Most High in their doings. They're not going to seek counsel before every matter, right? Let me get the book of Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 25. Right, this is the book of Proverbs chapter 16 and verse number 25. And it says, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So the Lord said, yeah, it may seem right to a man, right, to make certain decisions. He may think it's right to move in certain fashions, right? He may walk in a way that he think is good. But the Lord said at the end of that man's decision, or the end of that man's judgments or plans that he has set up, is death. Because you're moving without discernment, you're moving without judgment, you're not bewaring of offense, right? You're not taking heed that you may go off or make a decision that's going to lead to transgression. Right, let me read that again. And it says, Proverbs 16:25, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death, man. Right, and that's what and that's what wisdom's here for. You have to have wisdom to help you guide your decisions. You have to have wisdom to help you fear in everything, as it says. Right, let me get this in Proverbs chapter 14. Right, it's Proverbs chapter 14 and 15. And it says, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. So if you're a prudent man, you're going to look well to your going. If you're a prudent man, you're going to make decisions, right, that's going to cause you, to move in a wise way, right? And it says, a wise man feareth, verse 16, a wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool rageth and is confident. So it says a wise man feareth, man. Fearing in everything, abstaining from the appearance of evil. Right? Let me get this in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 22. Right? Abstaining from the appearance, even if it looks like it's evil, just don't deal with it. Right? It's Proverbs, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 22. Abstain from all appearance of evil, man. And that's plain. Knowing yourself, abstaining from appearance of evil. That's how certain doctrines and brothers do certain things, right? Because they don't really acknowledge that the Most High or acknowledge, what's written. They're creating certain things that they may say, okay, well, it's not in the law. I mean, we can do it. But that's why Paul say, certain things are not expedient, man. If you're a wise man, you're going to still fear in everything. You're going to make decisions. You're going to make moves and not even try to tamper or mess with certain things and stay rooted in a foundation just because you fear the Most High, man. Right? Let me get this. In the book of 1 Samuel. You don't want to force anything. Like I said, it's making presumptuous decisions. Let's see what Saul has done. Right? This 1 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 8. And it says, and he tarried 7 days according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. So Samuel had appointed a certain time that he's going to come and meet Saul and do a sacrifice for him. But the people scattered. They got impatient. They started panicking. And it says, and Saul said, bring hither a burnt sack offering to me and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. So Saul said, you know what? Just let me do it. I'm just going to offer the burnt offering. Right? The people are scattered. They're frantic. And he was hasty in his decision. Right? And it says, verse 10, and it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him that he might salute him. So Saul, he tried to play it off like everything was cool, knowing he didn't follow the directions of what Samuel told him. Like, I'm going to come at a point in time. Just wait for me. I'm going to come. But Saul moved in haste and then still tried to salute him as if everything was good, as if he still has done the right thing. That's what it says in Proverbs 14 and 16. Let me read it again. He was confident in his doing, right? But he didn't fear, right? This Proverbs 14 and 16. A wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool rageth in his confidence. He's confident that he's done the right thing. He's still saluting them, Yah Bashim Yah Shakta, right? And may have brothers like that, man, that move on their own accord, but still move as if everything's okay. And that's how and that's how Saul was, right? 1 Samuel 13 and verse 10. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him that he might salute him. And Samuel said, what hast thou done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. So what he's doing is he's making a lot of excuses. Well, because I seen the people were scattered from me, right? And I also seen that you didn't come at the day appointed. And also the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. All you're doing is just ramble on making excuses, man. Instead of saying, Salakia, I moved in haste, forgive me for what I've done, right? And cut it at that. But now he's just making excuses, right? And it says, verse 12, therefore said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. He forced himself to do so. Why are you forcing yourself to do something? I mean, that's not even, that doesn't sound like a person in the spirit. I'm gonna force myself, right? That's not fearing and everything. That's not, he didn't follow direction. So he had to force himself to do something, knowing, and guess what? He went off. Verse 13. And it says, and Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly, right? He was a fool. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. Saul could have had a kingdom over Israel forever, man. He could have had that. But he's done foolishly. He didn't move in discretion. He didn't move in wisdom. And not moving in wisdom can cause things to be taken away from you. The Lord doesn't delight in fools. The Lord says, go thou from the presence of a foolish man, paraphrasing, right, in the book of Sirach. The Lord's not dealing with fools, man. And you making unwise decisions, not fearing in everything, not fearing the Most High God, nor his judgments, but doing on your own accord and moving presumptuously. And this is what Saul has done. He could have had the kingdom forever, but the Lord snatched it from him and gave it to a man better than him, right? And it says, verse 14, but now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord have sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord have commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. And the Lord can take you out of this truth and give the spirit he gave unto you unto another person. All spirits come from the Most High, and he can grab that spirit and then give it to a person better than you because you decided to move as a fool, because you decided to say something foolish, because you decided to think like a fool, right? Let me go to the book. Oh, damn, precept escapeth me. Let me get the book of Sirach. All right, you don't want to move as a fool. All right, let me get the book of Sirach, chapter 22. And I'm going to start at verse, see what I want. All right, this is Sirach, chapter 22. I'm going to start at verse 11. Weep for the dead, for he have lost the light, and weep for the fool, for he wanteth understanding. So the Lord said, the same way you will weep for the dead, amen, weep for the fool too, because he lacks understanding, right? And death is going to soon come upon that man. Make little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest, but the life of the fool is worse than death. The Lord said the life of a fool, the life of a man that doesn't fear and everything, is worse than death itself, man. Because all your decisions are just perverted by your own foolish understanding, walking after your own heart and walking after your own mind. That's essentially what it is. You walking after your own heart and walking after your own mind, doing the ways of what you want to do, moving on your own accord. The Lord said a life like that, that's worse than death. There's a lot of people living a life right now worse than death. There's brothers in the truth, sisters in the truth, with fringes on, dresses on, living a life worse than death, man. Not talking about them being in the truth, but them being in the truth still moving foolishly. The Lord said that's just worse than death. Let me read that again. And it says, verse 11, weep for the dead, for he have lost the life, and weep for the fool, for he wanteth understanding. Yeah, you can be in this truth and still lack understanding, right? Like I said earlier, perverting doctrines. You get a little understanding and you twist it all up and try to make your own thing out of it just so you can gain followers like the next brother, right? Just so you can gain a name, right? And seek preeminence, man. That's a person that lacks understanding, that doesn't want order, that doesn't like to seek counsel, but gets a little taste of knowledge from the Lord, and it puffs you up, man. All right, now you can't take correction. That's a man that lacks understanding, that wanteth understanding. All right, and it says, make little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest, but the life of the fool is worse than death. See that? So the Lord said the life of a fool is worse than death. Reading on, 7 days do men mourn for him, and that is dead, but for a fool and an ungodly man all the days of his life. Because as you are as you are walking the earth every single day, the Lord said you just make foolish decisions, man. The Lord said weep for this man all the days of his life, man. You're gonna mourn for this man all the days of his life, right? And it says, verse 13, so you don't want to be the Lord is clearly giving you an accurate description on he doesn't deal with fools, man. He doesn't delight in foolish people and foolish behavior. And what is a fool? A man that's not moving in the fear of the Lord. A man, right, that's not fearing in everything or beware of offense. And it says, verse 13, talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that have no understanding. The Lord said he don't even want people dealing with this type of man. Don't be around him. What are you doing? Be around wise men. Didn't the Lord say be around wise men? Right? Let me hold that. Let me go to Sirach 37. Verse 12. But be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will not sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. So the Lord said, don't go from the presence of a foolish man and go into the presence of a man who you know will keep the commandments. You know he gonna keep the law. You know he gonna be fearful in every judgment and decision he makes. You know that this man is gonna walk in the ways of the Lord and not do foolish things, not say foolish things. You can say foolish things, right? But the Lord said you want your mind to be like his mind, and you want to be around that type of person. So let's see what the Lord said again in Sirach 23 and verse 13. Talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that have no understanding. Beware of him, lest thou have trouble, and thou shalt never be defiled with his fooleries. You can be defiled with people's fooleries, man. You can get caught up into certain things. People, fools, they'll make a decision and they'll throw you in it. They'll name drop you. Now you in a whole situation that you had nothing to do. Just because you was hanging around this man, you decided to accompany and be with this person or this woman. And the Lord said, you're going to be defiled with his fooleries. And that's the worst thing in the world, to be defiled with somebody else's fooleries, man. You tangled up and you jammed up in situations you had nothing to do with. Now you got to deal with it. Now that's just an extra thing on your plate because of this man, because of this woman, because of the things and the decisions, their words and their actions and what they decided to make, not fearing and everything. So the Lord said, you want to go from the presence of this man unless you'll be defiled with this person's fooleries, right? And it says, depart from him, and thou shalt find rest, and never be disquieted with madness. And you will never be disquieted with madness. I mean, you have a lot of wise men around you keeping the commandments of the Lord. You go over scriptures, y'all keep feast days, y'all break bread, y'all are protected by the eyes of the Lord at all times because y'all abide in the fear of the Lord. But a foolish man, he's presumptuous. You don't know what he's gonna do next. He's unpredictable. He's gonna say foolish things. You gotta get this person out of trouble. You're gonna be defiled with this person's fooleries. So the Lord said, I mean, if you depart from that man, you're gonna have rest. If you don't, I mean, it's gonna be raging all your life. And it says, verse 14, what is heavier than lead, and what is the name thereof, but a fool? And lead is heavy, man. The Lord said the thing that's heavier than that is a fool, and that's what you don't want to be. You want to be able to be aware in everything. Let me go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 30. Let's get an example of a man that's better than Samuel, that actually asked counsel from the Lord and wasn't a fool. All right, this 1 Samuel chapter 30 and in verse 1. And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag and smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire. Right, so Amalek kind of came from the south borders of Jerusalem and, you know, kind of burnt up some of the cities. And did what? Verse 2, and had taken the women captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. Took all the women, took all the children. Right, verse 3, so David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive. And you got to imagine that type of event where you're a leader, and you're a leader of an army, over a group of men, and their wives and their daughters are under your protection. And the heathen come and kidnap their daughters, kidnap their wives and their children and their sons. They're going to look at you as the leader, man. Right? And it says, verse 4, then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep, you know. And that's a heavy thing. Verse 5, and David's two wives were taken captives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, and David was greatly distressed. So this man was greatly distressed. Let's see if David moved on his own accord. Let's see if David just moved presumptuously. He was distressed. You know how many emotions that come with being distressed? There's a lot of emotions. You're depressed. You have a lot of thoughts running through your head. What should I do? Am I going to do this? This man, these are my men's children. How do they feel about me right now? What are they going to do? What are they going to say to me? What's the next thing that I got to do, man? What's my plan? What's my plan of action? Damn, my wife gone, my children gone. So David was going through a lot of thoughts, a lot of emotions, and as any man would, if your family got snatched up by some dirty Amalekites, right? So let's see what David did, right? Verse 6, and David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him. And people spoke of stoning David. They about to kill you, man. They talking about killing their leader, man. It's Israel not playing around, man. So David, he was going through a lot. Now let's see. And it says, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters, but David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. The first thing David did was a wise thing. He thought upon the Most High. He feared in everything. He remembered the Lord. If you don't remember the Lord in your decision, 10 times out of 10, unless the Lord has mercy on you and still guides your way, 9 times out of 10, your decision is going to be off. Your decision is going to be foolish. And your decision is going to lead into a road of more destruction. But David, the first thing David did was encourage himself in the Lord his God and thought upon the Most High. And it says, verse 7, and David said, Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. And the Lord said, without fail, meaning there's no chance that you're not going to win. You're gonna win, and you're going to take all, man. Right? Take everything back that they stole from you. But the first thing that David did was inquire at the Lord. He asked the Most High for permission to overcome his enemies, man. And the Lord said, without fail, man, you're going to win. I got you because you remembered me. Do you remember the Lord in some of the decisions you make? some of the major things that you're trying to do, and do you remember the Most High and remember everything he has given to you? Do you even thank the Most High? Are you fearing in everything? Just like David still had fear of the Lord, man, even after the situation happened to him, and they spake of stoning him, right? And it says, verse 9, so David went, he and the 600 men that were with Besor, where those that were left behind stayed, right? But David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 abode behind, which were so faint that they could not go over the brook Besor. And David, and guess what? He did as the Lord commanded him, man. Right? But that's what it looks like when you fear in everything. The Lord will be on your side. The Lord is not on the side of, again, I'm going to say it, of foolish men. The Lord doesn't delight in fools. Right? Let me go to the book of Hosea 4 and 6. All right, let's harp on that real quick. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. The Lord loves giving out knowledge and giving out wisdom. Right? It's Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. So the Lord said, you not dwelling with knowledge, you not dwelling with wisdom, that's the same as forgetting him, forgetting the Lord, your God, man. So when you forget the Lord in certain decisions you make, move presumptuously, not be wearing of offense, not fearing in everything, the Lord will reject you, right? Because that's a one of understanding. That's not knowledgeable. That's not wise to not remember the Lord, to not fear. The Lord rejected our people because the majority of our people don't want that knowledge, man. They forgot the Most High. You don't want to be in the truth and still forget the Lord like the rest of our people. That's not in this truth, man. You got to move differently. You got to put Yahweh Shem Yahshua first in everything, right? And the Lord, you know, he'll make certain things come to pass for you, right? Let me go to the book of Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 4. Actually, Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 16. All right, this is the book of Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 16. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. So the Lord is all about learning, increasing, learning knowledge, man, learning wisdom. Fools don't like to learn. I mean, brothers and sisters went to school with that person that just, you always talk, or you may have been that person and you changed, right? You talking, I'm talking always in the class. You're not really paying attention. You never really did any of your assignments, man. Right? You never just like to learn, man. You never really increased in anything. You still got some of the same knowledge you had back when, you know, years, you just didn't learn anything, man. Right? You never paid attention. You're talking while the teacher is talking. You don't want to be that type of person. The Lord loves when a man likes to learn, loves to learn. The Lord said, learn to do well. Right? And it says, so if you're a foolish man, you can learn, you can still learn to do well. But are you? If you don't want to, you're a fool, right? And it says, learn to do well, seek judgment. A person that fears in everything is going to seek judgment. They're not going to have the spirit of, you can't judge me. They're not going to have the spirit of, who are you to correct me? I'm the officer. I'm the captain. You're just a prospect. You can't tell me nothing. That's evil. You got to seek judgment. The higher you are, you should be able to seek more judgment, man. Because the higher you are, the bigger that fall, man. They used to say that in the world, hey, the higher you are, the bigger that fall. And it's the same in the truth. The Lord will overthrow, he overthrown proud princes. A proud man is a foolish man, because a proud man doesn't put the Most High first either. So the Lord says, seek judgment. You want to be able to, and it takes humility. It takes meekness for you want to seek judgment, seek correction. The most meekest man on the earth sought judgment, man, from his father-in-law to establish rank and order within Israel, so he's not overburdened. And that was, and he was over Israel, and that's Moses. So how much more you and I? And it says, seek judgment, believe the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. Right? So the Lord said he loves, you should want to learn. You should want to learn how to fear the Most High. Right? You should want to learn how to be wise and move in wisdom. And learn not to be a fool. You can learn not to be a fool just by watching fools. You can learn how to not be slothful just by watching a slothful person. Solomon told you that. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 24. Maybe Proverbs 20. Okay, Proverbs 24, and let's start at verse 30. And it says, I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. So Solomon watched. He's about to watch some lazy people, and he's about to watch men void of understanding. And he's about to just watch them just live. Let's see what they do, and let's see what Solomon says. So he wants the man void of understanding. So, you know, just watch a foolish man and see what he does. Verse 31. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone thereof was broken, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Meaning these men weren't in good condition. Right? Man is compared to his trees, but this tree wasn't cut, it wasn't groomed, it was just all, you know what I'm saying, then weeds and vines everywhere, stone wall breaking down, fortress wasn't up. And there's no protection. There's, you know, your enemies can come running in and out of you. You got a lot of spirits everywhere. That's what Solomon is seeing right now. Verse 32, then I saw and considered it well, and I looked upon it and received instruction. So Solomon says he looked upon these men, saw it very well, and received instruction. Considered it. Just look at a fool and see what they do and say, okay, that's what I'm not going to do. That's how I'm not going to act. That's how I'm not going to be. Okay, this person doesn't like to read very much. Every time I, you know, mention the Bible, they, you know, they roll their eyes, and, you know, we try to talk about the scriptures, you know, they change the subject. Okay, I'm not going to be around this person very long. Right? You know, all right, we had a feast day, and, you know, the brother, he's urging other brothers to drink, and he's, you know, he's drunk, and he's just spewing out a lot of secrets about brothers. He's tale bearing, you know, you can see other brothers not dealing with this man. So I'm not going to deal with this man, and I'm not going to do what he does. That's called receiving instruction. That's called understanding and looking at a man void of understanding, man. And that's what Solomon just said. And that's how we got to be in the spirit. That's what it means to fear in everything. All right. So let me go back to that in Sirach. All right. A wise man will fear in everything. All right. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 18. All right. And start at verse 27 again. And it says, a wise man will fear in everything, and in the day of sinning he will beware of offense, but a fool will not observe time. Verse 28. Every man of understanding knoweth wisdom, and will give praise unto him that found her, man. And she will give praise unto that man that found her, that learned to do well, that sought her out, that uses wisdom. A man of understanding is going to know wisdom, but a foolish man that doesn't fear in everything, he's not going to know wisdom. He's not gonna understand what wisdom is. And you don't want to be like that man or woman. But with that, I like to give all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, Lord, when he was edified, and I like to give a mighty strong shalom.